Hello. I'm coming on here to share with you my biggest struggles I had to face as an autistic individual. Well, number one, my personal struggle was self-advocating. And self-advocating it started to be very early in life. Like I started in school doing that kind of stuff. Cause my mom, she didn't have time to take off of work to take care of school business, unless it had to be special circumstances like an IEP meeting or something like that, or to check me out. And I think that started in the 8th grade for me because how can I say this? Because I had to make sure there were certain classes on my schedule, and I got the schedule on that first day of school in 8th grade at Evergreen. And there was a counselor, they kind of forgot, hey, I was in band, and I always loved band. And I remembered having to look out for to make sure the classes are in compliance with an IEP because I was in special ed and needed special type of attention. And yeah, this can be like sometimes having a special education teacher in the classroom. If you're an inclusion student, if you're profound, you're going to be in a profound classroom with all types of disability. And by that level, I was in inclusion. Meaning, if you're in regular instructional hours and you have a teacher, the main teacher, which is whoever he or she is for the situation, and sorry, just pardon me, and the special education teacher all in the same classroom. Like, I had to make sure that was being followed with English, math, and I think that's the two, I think reading, but in the earlier grades. And also the fact I was looking at the irregularities in my schedule, like, okay, I had to do Miss Cavalier or Miss Bavalier, whoever was the counselor, say, okay, number one, you also got band on my schedule, and I love bands. I love Pete's sake over there. 2, they forgot the fact I had to have APE, which, if in a regular sense, if y'all don't know what that is, it's like PE, but it's adaptive because it's mostly modified for people on in special education situations. Like if this person's got an IEP and they would need that sort of class most of the time, and to be with people that understand. And I told the counselor that number one, band is missing, and you knew better. Well, I was nice about it though. Number 2, there's no APE, and 3, my English, math, and readings are supposed to be inclusion. And the next day after that, me and my Miss Miller, which I try to advocate for myself, and I know it was good that I had her along because she knew better, because she knew how to follow the paperwork on the IEP and making sure classes are pretty well in compliant, because you got to, under your state and your federal, dealing with these kind of kids, And she was my person that looked out for my butt when I was in that sort of predicament. And that I wanted to thank her because she helped me understand that, and we didn't have to involve my mom very much. The only instructions my mom was involved in is she was chaperoning for band, or if there's a case she had to sign me out of school because I had felt sick, or if there's an IEP meeting that came on at school and she got the proper paperwork for it. In the other instances was also making sure on the junior high level that I had all the classes accommodated, especially through ninth grade. Even I had to take remedial classes because of the LEAP testing. And in if you don't know, if you're not from the state of Louisiana, the LEAP testing is a standardized test in grades 4 through 8. I don't know if it changes since then, but if you're from Louisiana and you know the policy a little better, please shout in the comments. And what happened was I went to summer school at the end of 8th grade to try and get the scores up on my readings and my maths. English and math, sorry. I think it was, okay, whatever component that was. But anyways, English and math. To try and get those scores up. There was one part of cell that I missed it by a point. And I think it was, it had to be at the math part. Or the English part. Whatever one it was, I missed it by a point. So in the ninth grade, I had a little mix up with some 8th grade classes in there too. Like having to make for remedial classes to make sure that I taken the parts that I failed on the LEAP test again. And that was my ninth grade situation. Now, my other parts was high school. I had to do a lot of the self-advocating there. And sometimes the teacher was there to sort of help me in the situation. Especially the special education teachers, they have access to the IEPs. If a guidance counselor has questions on some stuff, they can refer to it as the Bible. Let's put it a nicer way. Because the IEPs in general public school is the Bible for everybody. Means every teacher has to abide by it. Every teacher has to make sure that it is carried out. If you had a special education teacher, they are required by law to make sure everything's being followed up, every meeting has been backed up and stamped with a date. Everything needs to follow a protocol. And what happened was, if the teachers don't follow it, but he or she can lose their job right there. And my other little advocating thing I had to do in high school was geometry. And in the first geometry try, I didn't see any sign of special education teachers whatsoever. So the next day I was like at a point like, okay, what did I do? Did I go to bring it to the guidance counselor's attention and say, look, this needs to be done? I should have had the special education on that record somewhere that I was supposed to receive extra accommodations. And after a while, they started to say, look, yeah, that don't look correct. And they started to help me out a little bit on it. And also the other instances of my life I had to always advocate for was my last semester of high school. I was looking at my schedule throughout spring and fall of that year to make sure that classes are completely lined up. Make sure they're followed to the T on the situation. And then I was in the spring of that semester, I was eyeballing the classes, and I brought it to the teacher's attention and saying, look, number one, this class is incorrect. I was not supposed to be in girls' gym. And I try not to be upset about it. I went to my senior counselor, Miss Contreras, at school, saying, Miss Contreras, I cannot be in girls' PE or girls' gym because my IEP states that I had to be in adaptive PE class, and we had to sit and figure out who teaches that class to try to get me in. And the rest of the classes that year complied pretty easily. And plus band was on it throughout that time. I know that's a little mouthful to say. And also I have other instances I had to learn how to speak up too. Fletcher days, and especially, and this goes on to Nichols as well. And also working too. And so Fletcher I'm going to start off with, especially you transition out after senior high school. Like, they no longer use accommodations, like being referred to an IEP anymore in the technical schools as well as universities. They just call them accommodations. Like, sometimes you get a little more time on the test. I mean, Nichols terms, you get to double time for your exams and all that. So it means the instructor side of this means they add extra time on it for those type of students. And I think technical school falls into that situation, which is Fletcher. Okay, and also the fact you're allowed access to that. You're allowed access to note taker. You're allowed access to recorded lectures. Stuff like that you were allowed to. But I don't remember doing a contract for Fletcher per se, but I did remember meeting with a counselor around after the first week of school. And I had to submit a doctor's excuse stating the nature of my disability off the bat. Yeah, it could be your regular doctor's note saying you got a disability. It could be an evaluation that you had with a psychologist, or counselor note, or a family practice, general practice, when any of those variations would do alright with those types of situations. So Fletcher, I met up with a counselor called Miss Pellegrin, and she and I, we talked through the whole process, and what sometimes the technical schools do and the universities do, once they get all the paperwork, and I remember Fletcher had to meet with her every semester, regardless. And after that given period of time, every instructor knows, hey, this is the person, this is accommodations. And every school runs it differently. So anytime I had a test, I had to make sure they were aware of where I was going. So I say, hey, look, I'm going to the lab. Please send my paperwork to the lab so we're not in a situation. And I know I took a break from university for a little bit because I had been on academic probation. And academic probation is not the end of the world, guys. It's not. It gives me time to reflect upon myself and where I belong, generally, you know. So I took about 5 years off of academic studies and did other things, like I volunteered for band, community band. I volunteered at the schools a little bit. I also did cantatas. I worked and did a lot of things that to help get my confidence back, you know. And then Nichols came along, which was around, I registered for Nichols the spring of 2020, so it was during a lockdown. By the way, it was hard to do a lot of those things during a lockdown. Do the registration for school, making sure that you've gotten your paperwork, and I had to really get on Fletcher's case to get my paperwork to them, and also get with my Terrebonne Parish School Board office to get my transcript from HL. So that took about a good month or two to get that information to them because of the lockdown, and everybody was at home, you know, couldn't go out at all. So that took a good bit for them to get to the office. And also to get a tax return for the financial aid part. So being in university settings was hard at first. I'm not gonna lie. It was really hard, especially during COVID, to adapt to a lot of things. They had to wear a mask for the first year and a half, pretty much. Had to go through a disability meeting, which was their intake process was very different than Fletcher, by the way. You had to go through an intake meeting with the honcho, and mine was Miss Heidi Dupre. That was before, a little bit before Miss Amanda took it over, and Miss Casey did. But I knew Miss Amanda around the same time, so, and also Casey. So I met up with her, and what happened was, after we met, and it had to be online, it couldn't be in person because of the situation, COVID. And what happened was the fact around that time also I was forwarding accommodations to my new professors before class started. And once class started, they got to know me a little bit. So I went to class the first time, and I remember being in theory class the very first day, and the class was dang huge. Yeah, it was dang huge for a good bit, and not just that. It was like you had a lot of students. You had to worry about the social distancing that was going on at the time because of the protocol for the university, stating that you had to be within 6 feet from each other. And it was crazy for a while until we had another teacher step in to take half the students. It was either Dr. Miranda or Dr. Barrio. So, yeah, it was a little crazy, but that's alright. So after a while, we kind of met on like every 3 days the first semester, then every day after that, after the first semester, because the classes were kept a little smaller, you know. But okay, and also fast forwarding that first year, and also fast forwarding what happened there. I know I was so upset about failing my first class called Biology 105. But I caught it in time. I didn't wait till like the last minute to say something, you know. I said, Mom, and it was after the first test that I didn't do that good. I said, Mom, I seriously had to drop the class. It was getting too much, and it was just taking my time and attention away from other stuff. So we dropped the class that first semester, and retook it again in my last year and passed it the last time. So it kind of was a way to say, hey, look, I'm in trouble and it's not the end of the world. So that, and fast forwarding to about sophomore year. The sophomore year was the craziest year of all because you're already into the year of your barriers. Because barriers is a fourth semester thing for majors in music. But I had a few things that happened there that I had to do because some stuff was not my fault. Let's say it that way. Number one, and I was a little bit around Welcome Back Day on the fall of 21. And I remember I was waiting for Wind Ensemble to start up because there's just a percussion ensemble and wind ensemble, and I was freaking out because the nursing students were there, and they should have not been there for one. It sent me into a freak out because look, I have white coat syndrome, and I have problems with that certain instances happening in the classroom. So I had to kind of get out of the situation a little bit and kind of calm down. I'll never forget the next day after that little shenanigan, my friend Salathian asked what happened to me. Say, I said, Salathian, those nursing students freaked me out. And yet, the hours after the whole bullcrap was the fact I had to email Miss Amanda, because she was my head honcho in the school that represented my disability, and she handled my paperwork. I say, hey, Miss Amanda, I had some incident happen in my class about the nursing students over in Lindsay Hall, and I wasn't aware of their testing because the fact is they flipped me out just like that. And I spoke up on it, trying to give as clear of detail as I could in the email. And the second thing she did was forward it to the Ally building right next to it. And I was told this the other time, the next time it happens again with the students, was to get with the teacher. And also, the second time it happened was the fact I was going to, and also there's other instances of them. The only time my mom had to be in a situation with me testing with the nursing students was when they do the random testing for COVID, which I did my part in staying away from those type of people, you know. And I didn't want to stick a foreign object up my dang nose, you know. That was, yeah, not the pleasant thing in the world. But she had to teach them how to handle autistic people because they're going to come across that in their practice. And my mom gave them the education. And I am thankful that she educated those type of people. And then fast forwarding to the spring of that year, and that was my first class with Dr. Robichaux. And we had practice in Talbot Hall for a performance. And what happened was there were some people going to CDMA, which is the clinic, the little Southwest or whatever clinic there was. I'm not sure what it is now. But they had people going out of town. Let's put it the nicer way. For a little performance. And I saw the nursing students again at that time. I was like, okay, what do I do now? Because why are they back here again after I just blasted it on the email saying you should have not been there? But I try to be calm and collected, saying, look, hey, excuse me, what's going on? And my second response was, may I go get the professor? And I didn't run away at that point. I just kind of, okay, I'm going to go in like normally and not let those nursing students intimidate my butt. Yep. So I go in, I go to the stage as I was helping set up for rehearsal. And I grabbed Dr. Robichaux's attention and say, Dr. Robichaud, the nursing students are outside. Can you please go see what they want? And that was using my inner voice and saying, look, I shouldn't let these people intimidate me from doing what I loved. And I know now I had to always fight and be on guard with everything. Because, look, I had to do a lot of self-advocating for university, because the fact is, I aged out of Bridgeton Independence because I was way too old to fit in. And plus I didn't have the funds to be able to be with them, you know. No funding, no nothing. So getting that degree was a lot of things I had to do on my own. My sister and my family were there to help, and so were my professors. So I was able to ask for some sort of assistance, you know, and I had to learn how to do that on my own, but hey. And reach out for tutoring and all sort of things, you know. Hey. My mom gave me the wings to do so much more, and I'm thankful for that, you know. I'm also self-advocating and searching every avenue to get a job. I might consider about going back with my old caseworker that helped me in Fletcher if he's still around. I might get in contact with him pretty soon, but I can say the name. Privacy. Yeah. But that's okay. Because I know after so much I fought for, I know somebody's going to see my independence in a wholly different manner, you know. Stay tuned.